Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Breakers Creations, and thank you very much for joining me today. Everything was in a bit of a rush and a roar, and so hopefully everything is all working properly. I look a little bit, do I look a little bit orange? I'm not sure, I feel orange. I'm just feeling a little orange now. Let's just see if I have done something wrong here. Let's go to streaming. No difference. Okay, orange it is. It's probably because there's a lot of sunlight here today. I'm going to just do my normal little thing here where I just do a quick little shout out to everyone who happens to be watching. So I will say hello to Jay, hello to Steve, Retro Techie, SadMac356, hello Kai, hello John Mortz, Dave is here, One Bit Fever Dreams, K24A1, K24A1, K24R1, Kibbles the Kitty, Mystery Margot, Sean Action Retro is here, Wayne3225, geez, there are a lot of Waynes, aren't there? 3225, wow. Jack68K, Vintage Hillbilly Shack, Sam Johnson, Jared Burma, Carthor, I think, have I got everyone? Dave Gillies, Patrick Pitts, hello to all. Joe is here, hello Joe. Will Jacobs, I'm going to just be spending all the stream saying hello to people, aren't I? If I do miss anyone, it is not deliberate, it is accidental. Max is here, hello Max. I did a great little trick for Max the other day. He sent me a whole stack of boards to recap, middle of last year, and I packed them all up, all except for one, which I was having a problem with. I packed them all up. He came and picked them up the other day, and I missed one. I left one out. So I've got the Macintosh LC1 board recapped. It's done. It's working beautifully. It's clean. It's all good to go. But it's sitting here and not in the box. So, anywho, Mike is here, hello. And also, I should also mention that Max dropped off a G5 X-Serve for me the other day as well. I'm all about the X-Serve at the moment. So I've got a G5 X-Serve, I've got an Intel X-Serve, and I've got an X-Serve RAID. And the G5 one was an interesting one because he said, oh, it's a node, so it doesn't have a display card. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, no problem with that. I've got heaps of cards. And I went and checked all of my cards the other day, and they are all AGP. Was it accelerated graphics port cards, not one single PCI graphics card. So I am going to have to get hold of the PCI graphics card in order to use that G5 RAID. But in the meantime, I've been keeping myself very, very busy with... not RAID, sorry, Xserve. I've been keeping myself busy with this Intel one. So this is an Xserve 2,1, which came out around about the same time as the Mac Pro 3,1, and they are virtually the same machines, just squished down. We've got some more people here saying hello. You look dead on the camera if you're very neutral. Hello to Arnaud Miet, I think. Oh, I've got a super chat. I'm going to put that up here and add to stream. Elsewhere, was one of my favourite 60K Macs, a Performance 475, which would be great 60K once I fix it. Yep, I couldn't agree more. The 475, I don't have a 475 case. I've got a Colour Classic case, but I don't have a 475 case. I would like to have one day, but the problem with them is that you have to get them, you have to pick them up by hand. They're too brittle to get delivered or anything like that. So that's the main issue with those. So yeah, Max 1ZZZ is here, and another Joe. Would an ATI Radeon 7500 PCI work for your... I have no idea. I honestly have no idea. And the new marathon begins. Just a quick mention, if anyone hasn't seen it, yesterday Steve did a live stream, and he was basically looking at, recapping and fixing a Macintosh 2. Anyhow, partway through the stream, he wanted to go get something to eat. So he only has himself to blame, ultimately, for wanting to eat. He heads off, Joe very kindly says, look, while you're gone, do you want me to jump on and keep your viewers entertained until you get back? And Steve said, yeah, that's good. And then he said, you know what, I'll invite you and Mike to jump on and to the channel while I'm having some food. And then, of course, I said, well, where's my invite? And then I got an invite. And then Jay was sort of like, where's my invite? And Jay didn't get an invite, but he came anyway. And so anyhow, we ended up with this situation where Steve went off and had a bite to eat. And then I came on, Joe came on, Mike came on, Jay came on. We even ended up with Dana a little bit later on. And what we actually did was Jay was working on a Macintosh 2 board. I was working on a Macintosh 2 board, and so was Steve. So we had a Macintosh 2-a-thon. So if anyone didn't catch that live stream, it goes for about 7 and something hours. So go and check that out. Get some viewing hours for Steve. Is everyone going to jump on this stream now? Well, see, here's one of the problems. I'm not actually using StreamYard. I'm using, I can invite people on. I can have guests on, but it's not like StreamYard where it's like really easy to just have people pour into the thing. Anyhow, we had a lot of fun making it. Hello, Quicksilver Oz. Oh, look at this. We've got Dan from Canadian Computer Collector. Ooh. I had a look at his a bit of his stream this morning. I couldn't see much of it because I was asleep for some of it, but he was cleaning up some keyboards. That's certainly a bit I saw. Greetings from Brisbane. Nice. I hope the weather's nice in Brisbane. It's actually a beautiful day here today. Lovely and sunny and delicious. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Joe worked on a 2GS because he forgot that it's Macintosh. See, we got Macintosh. There we go, Macintosh. Anyhow, I digress. So I've been playing around with an Xserve and an Xserve RAID, and here's a really interesting thing about it. This is a RAID that came out of an office, you know, a standard office. And I brought it home and I opened it up, and the thing has got horrendous corrosion, both the RAID and the Xserve. I ended up having to remove the RAID controller from inside the Xserve because it's a controller that you can connect 3 drives and turn those into a RAID. And I put it in the cleaner and components literally fell off it because of the corrosion. I had to lift some components off. I had to clean up some pads. I had to replace a bunch of 10K resistors. And I got it working now. And then the logic board. I mean, I had 4 gigs of RAM in it. I put an extra 2 in there, and it was saying the RAM sims were bad. I was like, oh, that's no good, bad RAM sims. Anyhow, just by a bit of luck, this Xserve that I got for free came with a spare logic board. So once I started having problems with this and seeing the level of corrosion, I just replaced the logic board. I took out the old one, put in the new one. And once I did that, it started working really well. So this is, you know, pretty significant damage to what would have been an extremely expensive piece of hardware being caused by moisture in an office. So I'm actually going to be contacting this guy and say, look, you guys need to invest in a dehumidifier because, okay, it's all very well to have these problems on a big old clunky Xserve, but he's got like little Mac Minis in there now, and the Mac Minis are incredibly susceptible to moisture. So I will be telling him if he wants to prolong the life of his computers that he's got to do something about the moisture problem. So the RAID is not working properly. I need to take the backplane out, and I expect to find the same level of corrosion on the backplane board as I have found in this Xserve. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the RAID. I've got 7 250 gig drives there, and I mean, I really don't know what I'm going to do with it. I mean, it's a great big noisy loud thing, but I just couldn't. He was going to e-waste it, and I just, you know, I mean, we paid like $9,000 for it because this is from the company that I used to work for. $9,000 for it. Crikey. All of my Xserves with RAID batteries are dead, not surprisingly, I guess. So, Max, that can be fixed. If you would like me to fix it, I can fix it. Essentially, inside that little metal case that has the battery in it, inside there is a little controller, and inside that, and next to that is a lithium polymer battery. And it is 60 mils wide, 68 high, 60 deep, and I think it's a 2500 milliamp hours, something like that. Sorry, six mils deep. Anyhow, you can buy those batteries really cheaply. In actual fact, I bought one. I couldn't get that exact size, but I got a slightly smaller one. So, you know, but it actually has the same capacity because it's a newer battery. But it's a slightly smaller one. It's the same thickness, but it's a few mils narrower that way and that way because it was really easy to get hold of. It was like $12, might have been more, $15, something like that. And then essentially what you have to do is you have to take the old lithium polymer battery out, and then you solder the new lithium polymer battery to the little controller, and then you can essentially replace that battery for only a few dollars. So I ordered the battery the other day from an Australian place just around the corner. I hope to pick that up probably tomorrow. And yeah, and then so all the important thing is, I mean, I don't know if you're keen to do this, Max, but if you want to go down this path to dismantle it and then take the battery out, it's all fairly modular. It's not that hard. It's you only have to take a few screws out, and the rest are little, you know, like little bolty things that you can just actually undo with your hands. So you take off the plastic cover, you take the fan module out. That's got a couple of screws to take the fan module out. Then you unplug the RAID controller, then you can slide the RAID controller out, take all the hard drives out, of course, and then there's another piece that comes out, and then the battery's underneath that. And so if you just give me the batteries, I can repack them for you. Alternatively, if you want me to do the whole thing, you can just land the RAID on me and I'll pull it all apart and do all that. So anyhow, that can be done, it can be fixed, it can be, you know, as good as new. So anyhow, labour for Bruce to fix it, priceless. All right, so anyhow, I have digressed way too much. I've just been X-serving it. But anyhow, I put a System 10.6 server on that RAID. I don't know what I'm going to do with it now. No idea. You know, runs all right. It would be great if I could stick High Sierra on it or something newer. But the problem is that High Sierra does not recognize the RAID. It doesn't see it at all. So when I go to install it, it doesn't see it. So I would actually have to install it on another disk and then do like a carbon copy clone, you know, something like that from an older operating system. I don't know if that would work, but I could potentially try it. So, right, anyhow, let's continue. So what I have here, and any of you who may have watched the trailer for this live stream, let's see if my top view camera is working. And it is. This here is a Macintosh LC575. Now this came to me from a customer who actually sent me a few boards. Most of them were in pretty good condition. And then I went to just go grab this one, just treating it like any other old board, and it is in a shocking state. It has this kind of, you know, this corrosion all over it. I suspect it may have been washed with tap water. I could be wrong. It's got that look about it that when if you wash something with tap water and then you sort of dry it, and then all of the minerally stuff in it kind of sticks to all the metal things and gets all crunchy. It's not nice at all. So this one is definitely going to need to be cleaned, but there are a few red flags going on here, and that is it's a particular type of green that I generally don't like to see, and it's a type of green that you get from corroding copper. So yeah, so this is, you know, this is all the more reason why. And I had the same with this. So this is a board that I got. This is actually a it's actually called a Gemini for UMAX. It's a UMAX Gemini CPU. It's a 604E, I think, 250 megahertz, and this you could put into a UMAX computer, the right sort of UMAX computer that actually had two slots for a CPU. So you could put the main CPU in slot A, you put this secondary CPU in slot B, and then you ran a little umbilical between the two, and turn that into a dual CPU computer. And we don't think that much, you know, that's no big deal these days, but back then that was pretty amazing. So you could actually set up a dual CPU sort of UMAX. And at the time, if you were still using, say, System 9, you would have had to have got dual CPU software. So not much software would utilize dual CPU, but things like Photoshop would. If you're doing something like a Gaussian blur or an unsharp mask, Photoshop would use dual CPUs for that. But I actually did quite a lot of 3D illustration at the time, and that utilized dual CPUs really well. So anyhow, these things have become kind of rare. Getting the main CPU is not too hard, but getting hold of this secondary processor, it actually says, I don't know if you can see it, says secondary processor. It'll focus in a minute. Install, okay, there we go. SKU secondary processor. So anyhow, this came to me, this used to be mine, then I gave it to someone and that person didn't use it, so they gave it back to me. And it got washed at some stage with tap water, and you could just tell straight away. So the first thing I did, I had to clean a few things up, and then I had to replace some caps, and then I had to fix some broken traces, and then I put it into the ultrasonic cleaner and cleaned it up, and of course it gets rid of all of that horrible stuff. So, and what am I in now, Hufflepuff? Deduct 5 points from Gryffindor. Okay, fair enough. What have I done? What have I done? Bruce misidentified. What have I done? What have I done? Wait, have I made a mistake? It looks like a 575. That looks like a 575. Is it a 575 or a 475? You sure? I'll tell you in a minute, because I've got a 475 right here. It's a 475. You lie. Oh, 575, sorry, yes. It is a 575. Pfft, I have to rename this stream now, aren't I? It is a 575. Of course it is. Sorry. Sorry, everyone.
Smash that like button.
Let's cause some distraction there. It's going to cause some distraction. So yes, this is a 575. It isn't 475 at all. I will have to rename the stream. I will have to redo the thumbnail because I got it completely and totally wrong. And thank you for everyone for spotting it, and thank you for letting everyone know, letting me know that that's the case. So anyhow, we're working on a 575 today, and one of the things, and you know, I mean, I've been saying 475 the whole time and been meaning 575. So sorry about that, folks. We will. The main difference, obviously, between a 475 and a 575 is a 475 is. Sorry, I'm just fixing up my camera here. My microscope camera has just gone all funky. So you're supposed. There we go. There we go. Now we can see the microscope camera. So yeah, the 475 is obviously the little pizza box. The 575 is the all-in-one. And when I said before I don't have a 475, I was lying. I do have a 475, and I love it very much, even though the plastic is falling apart. It's a 575 that I don't have. So anyhow. And of course they have this connector. It's a slide-in board, same sort of connectors you have on a Color Classic. So anyhow, doesn't have that white connector at the bottom. Oh yes, I'm well aware of that. So hang on, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to get a little bit of an overlay, and I'm going to say a new text overlay, and I'm going to say it's a 575, not a 475. Brancus is stupid. There we go. So now we've got that here. We'll just have that there. We'll keep that there, certainly for a little while, I think. I might just reduce the point size. It's a little bit big. There we go. All right. So just a reminder for anyone who, if anyone joins and looking for some 475 action, it is actually a 575. So, okay. All right. See you, Steve. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue with this terribly grubby, awful 575. And let's hope I don't just keep calling it a 475 for the rest of the stream. There is a fairly high likelihood of that happening. I'm going to jump into the microscope and I'll talk about some of this horrendous stuff that I was referring to. Scope view. There we go. So you can see we've got all this sort of white powdery stuff all over the place. I'm going to just grab a Q-tip. Charlie, how's it going? I've got boards of yours I need to send to you. My apologies. Okay, so I'm just getting a little bit of iso alcohol here and just giving this a little bit of a rub to remove some of that white stuff. And then we want to see what's remaining underneath. And we have a good solid amount of trace rot. Now, the areas that are dark are rotting. That's where oxygen has got underneath the UV mask, the solder mask, and has started rotting the copper underneath. However, it will still be conductive. It needs to be cleaned, it needs to be sorted, but it will still be conductive. This, on the other hand, right there, that's something far more sinister. What we have there is the trace has corroded to the point where you can see this kind of bubbling up of green stuff. I do have a backup, by the way. If this thing is just absolutely unrepairable, I do have a Color Classic I can recap. So, there we go. So there's the problem. So you see that? That ain't good. That is really not a good sign. And that was, yeah, could be a perfect outing for the pencil, except it's not down here. I'll have to go get it. But anyhow, you're right, it is, and I do need to try it. So, yes, so Kai was my mystery benefactor, so I haven't had a chance to mention this, but one of my 2FX live streams that I did recently, Kai was, suggesting certain things, and he just said, stuff it, I'm ordering them for you. And so I had these two packages turn up last week, one with a fiberglass pencil and one with tweezers for the multimeter. We'll go get them. So I'm going to put you on pause just for a moment. So I'll be doing the back soon thing. Just remember, this does sometimes come on a little loud, so hands on your volume knobs, but I'll be right back. Hello, friends. So these are the two things that I got from Kai. Thank you very much. And we've got this one here, which is the fiberglass pencil. So you basically turn that little bit of fiberglass comes out there, and we'll give that a little bit of a try, give it a scrapey scrape. And then we have here, these are basically tweezers that just plug into a standard multimeter. So you can put them in there and then, essentially be able to measure things with the tweezers. So that's a very handy thing for very small components so they don't go pa-choom, flying off the board, flying off the table. Pa-choom. Okay, so. Thingamaboob. Yeah, we'll never let Joe live that down. For anyone, Retro Repair Roundup. Thingamaboob. That was a good one. And I especially love it the moment he realised he said it. He's just like, did I just say that? Yeah. All right. Right. Okay, so let's try this. We'll give this fiberglass pencil a bit of a try out. I'm fiberglassing. You've got to scrape more. Scrape more. I don't know if am I using it wrong? It seems to me it's a difficult thing to do it under the microscope. It's doing it, but the more dead 575s I can get, the better. I try and save as many as I can, but I tell you what, this guy, I don't feel so good about this one. So when I scrape this here with my blade, my blinky blade, you can see that all those ones that were dark, I can essentially take that top layer off and reveal copper underneath. So if I now get my multimeter, by the way, has anyone ever heard of, where is it? Where is it? Did I get rid of it? Oh, damn. How about this one? No, no. What have I done? What have I done? Oh, here we go. Bing. Hey, does anyone need a multimeter? If you do, may I recommend getting a Kaiweets KM601. It's a damn fine multimeter and a budget price as well, so get yours today. Would you really expect a budget multimeter to have all of these functions? By gum. It is an amazing thing to have a multimeter like this with this sort of price. Beautiful screen like that as well. With all of those functions. Fantastic. All right. Shill. Right, so anyhow, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this here. I'm going to get my multimeter. I'm going to put it into continuity mode, or as it is sometimes referred to as beepity beep beep mode. How much Yankee bucks? That's a good question. I haven't actually looked at the price lately, but I will tell you. I'll tell you today. I'll tell you what you could do. You could look in the description of this video, and you know what you might find? You might find a link that will take you straight to the Kaiweets store, straight to that particular product. And here we go. Here we go. Okay, at the moment you are talking $45.99. $45.99 in Yankee dollars. So it would be a bargain at twice that price. So come on. Okay. Right, so I'm in beepity beep mode. I hope you can hear that. Beep. And we're just going to show some of these traces that I have exposed. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Even that one, with that horrendous corrosion on it, has still got a bit of continuity going on here. Don't buy it from Amazon. Goodness me. Goodness me. No, sir. Use the link in my description. Right, so well, that's a good sign that we had that corrosion, but we've still got some continuity there, because it might mean that this board might still actually work. Look at that. Yui. Yui. What's the other side like? Wow, this side's pretty good. The birdseed side, as we refer to it, it's actually not bad at all. Look at it. Look at it. So it's just on this side. And as I say, I guess maybe someone washed this under a tap to get rid of some of the, perhaps the what do you call it stuff? The leakies. This is just quite extraordinary. Oh man. Oh, look at that. Sorry, you can't see it. I'm going to do it here. Now, what we have here is a chip. You can see there, NCR 1990. I don't know what it does, but it's there. Probably, is that the, no, that's not the SCSI chip, is it? I think is that the SCSI chip? Maybe. Anyhow, here's something rather important. If we get this here, and we look at these pins, oh, 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 that's not right. Sorry, there's a sulfur-crested cockatoo outside making a hell of a racket. It is the SCSI, that's what I thought. Well, I am not expecting the SCSI to work on this anytime soon. Let's have a look at this guy here. This is also a chip. Yeah. Okay, so every single pin here is going to need to be redone. Wow. So that's cool. So just to set some expectations straight off the bat, do not expect this one to get tested today. Hold pencil vertically, apply a bit of pressure, and make sure you don't have too much fiberglass exposed. 2 millimeters is more than enough. Okay, so let's go. There's, okay, cool. I'm doing it. This is the bit I've been doing here. Right here. Okay, so I am going to be looking towards you guys for this, for what to do now. We have a few courses of action here. Now, it needs to be recapped, of course. But we also need to lift at least 3 ICs off this, clean the pads, put the chips back on. That has to be done. There's no way of this having any chance of working unless we do that. There is, I feel, probably about a 10% chance that this will work, just by fixing up what I can see. Could take several hours to do. So I guess the question is, what do people want to see? Would they like to see me tackle this and actually see if I can get something happening? Because if that is the case, what I'll probably do is drop it straight into the ultrasonic cleaner, and then we'll get it dry as quickly as possible, and then I'll start working on it. So, you know, you guys tell me what you would like me to do. I'm just gonna put it in the ultrasonic without acid. Before, you know, it would make sense to probably drop this into some vinegar first and then go into the ultrasonic, but I'm not going to do that. You want me to give it a try? Several hours on a Saturday night. Yeah, short board needs to be recreated from scratch. That's what Joe's had his say. Tackle it, ultrasonic. Where's the LC575? You see the thing? You see the thing, Garth? You see it? Okay. All right, we're going to go for it. So I guess what we will do first, I'm probably going to lose components on this. Some of these are probably going to just drop off while they're in the ultrasonic cleaner, but that's going to happen. So I'm going to drop this in the ultrasonic cleaner now. While that's happening, I'll grab another board. We'll have a little bit of fiddle around with that in the meantime, while we wait for this one to clean up a little bit. I'll probably just ultrasonic one side of it, because the other side doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to do that now, and then we're going to have the noise of the ultrasonic going in the background. And for that, I apologise, but I've been told it's apparently not too bad. It pisses me off, but it's apparently not too bad. So into the ultrasonic we go. I'm doing it on the little one over here. It's already warmed up, so the water in here is, I think, around about the 50 degrees C mark. This is my 10-litre cleaner. The brand is Vevor, V-E-V-O-R. I do recommend this brand. I've had this one now for lots of years, and you know, it gets a lot of use. And this thing is a beaut little thing. So highly recommend a doodle. I'm just going to take the CPU off so we can get a good clean in the gullies there. Top view. Right. So, hello. 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 I've got a thing for removing CPUs, and like everything on my desk, it goes missing regularly. It looks so much like other things, so it keeps getting lost. Here it is. So I'm going to lift this CPU up. Anyone who wants to comment on me doing this wrong, that's not how you remove a CPU, what are you doing, that sort of stuff, feel free to direct any of those comments to, I don't really care actually. You can write to your local politician. There we go. Okay, so there we got a, ooh, what have we got going on there? A little bit of corrosion on that pin there, but really not too bad at all. So all things considered, the CPU is pretty darn good. This is a 68 LC, which means that it doesn't have a math coprocessor built in. If you get hold of a full 68, you can put it in this and make it a faster computer. How about that? How do you say about that? Right, dropping this into the cleaner now. And let's... And away she goes. And in the meantime, let's grab a different board. And we will recap this while we wait. I hope that noise isn't too horrendous and annoying, because it sure is to me. Okay. How the ultrasonic cleaner video is going. I haven't done any work on it in a little while, but here's just one of these ridiculous things that is so, you know, I had just got to get this thing out because I keep getting people asking me about ultrasonic cleaners, and it's like if I could just point them to the video, it would make life so much easier. I've done a good chunk of it. I just got to get it out. I might even get a chance to do some of that later today. We'll see how we go. So here we have this is a good old classic color classic, good old fashioned color classic board. The difference with this one is that it has been modified to take one of the cube batteries rather than the 3.6 volt. So it has two mods on here. It's got this little patch here for sticking the little cube battery on. It has this little connector here, which is the little pin connector for connecting that whatever Rayovac battery on there. And it has a great big fat diode stuck here on what is it? This is, I haven't got my glasses on. This is U8. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up the schematic and see if we can figure out what they are actually doing with that diode with U8. Kai will probably just take one look at it and figure it out immediately, but it'd take me a little bit longer. So I'm going to... How's the ultrasonic sound, by the way, folks? Is it like really awful, or is it not too bad? Looking for 68K schematics. We're looking for the Color Classic schematic. Wouldn't it be great if someone redid the Color Classic schematic? Please, someone, anyone? Okay, so we have... We're looking for U8, and I am imagining where I might find that. Nope. You can do it, it's not bad, good, okay. Probably shunts the battery recharge circuit. Shunt. It's a funny word, isn't it? Okay, I'm just looking to see if I can find U8 on this thing. U12, U16. It's only a little one. U8. U1, U4, U3, U6, U16, U2, U7, U8, here we are. Okay, so this is mouse keyboard ports U8. We're connected between pins 1 and 7. So pin 1 is voltage in, and pin 7 is to the battery. Okay, so it is related to the battery. So this is a modification as part of using that Rayovac battery. What I will say is, hello Trina, thank you for joining. Actually, there's a few people here that I haven't said hello to. Hello Benjamin Dressler. I don't know if I even said no, hello to Jeremy. I didn't say hello to you. Retro Techie, did I say hello to you? I can't remember. I think I did. You've been here since the beginning. I think. What else have we got going on here? Let me just go back here. Did I say hello to Joe Williams? I'm not sure. I can't remember. Anyhow. If you make a sprint layout of it, I'll draw schematics on it. I mean, I imagine you could probably just recreate the schematics based on these Bowmark ones that have been made. But the main problem with the Bowmark schematics is that they are handwritten. So if I want to try and find a component, let's say I say, oh, C12, I want to find out what C12 does. I can't just search for C12 so that then it comes up on the schematic and find out what it is. You've got to scroll through it and find them. So one of the things I did with the 2FX one, I got the individual pages and I started actually putting labels on top of the components so that I can then search the labels and find them on the board. I know I should go in and redo the whole thing, but I'm not going to do that. So anyhow, look, those Rayovac batteries are actually harder to find than the half AA ones. So I am going to revert this back to what it was. I'm going to stick a normal battery holder on it. I haven't asked the customer if they want this, but it's the logical thing for me to do. And if they decide that they don't want it, I'll change it back again. But to me, it just seems the most logical thing to do. I'll whip off that diode. I will put a normal battery holder on it, and I think we'll be good as gold. Oh wow, someone's cooking something and it smells beautiful. Okay, so I can actually, I should change this now. I'm working on I'll change this. Okay. Working on, working on a color classic. Okay, we'll save that. So now everyone can see we're working on a color classic. All right, so we're going to, as I say, revert the battery situation. So let's go in and take this connector off. It's a real bodge job, isn't it? What have they stuck it on with? Okay. So they've got one pin going through the hole, and the other pins are kind of being held on fairly precariously. So let's get a scope view here. Oh, I've still got my micro pencil from the delicate work I was doing yesterday on my Mac Tube. And if I don't use the micro pencil when I should be using the micro pencil, I always get a little reminder from our good friend Jay at the House of Moth that I should be using my micro pencil for this particular job. And it's like, thanks, Jay. While we're just waiting for this to heat up, I'll just make a quick mention of Tinker Different. I'm sure all of you people out there know Tinker Different. If you don't know Tinker Different, please check it out. If someone wants to put a link to it in the chat, it is an online community of rather awesome people doing awesome things and sharing all of their technical expertise and their projects, and it's an opportunity for people to ask questions and get great answers from very, very smart people way smarter than I am. So yeah, Tinker Different. You get wires, you get to Tinker Different. Come on, I bent this up a little bit. Come on, there we go. Come on. Man. Okay. Just checking. I had an interesting question someone put on one of my YouTube videos the other day. They said, what sort of 3D printer rig do you have? Now, that's fine, except that in the video that he commented on, I make no mention of having a 3D printer. None. None mention. So I was like, okay, well, how do you know I've got a 3D printer set up? Oh, smell. Oh, wow. I haven't even got to a cap yet, and I can already smell the funky fishiness. That was you, was it, Will? So, yeah, I mean, I will actually, well, you save me from having to type it into the chat now. I have a Creality Ender 3 V2. I print primarily on PLA. I print only on PLA, not primarily, it's the only thing I print with. Most of what I print, it's pretty much a bog standard setup. I've done a few little mods just to improve it, which I think are almost essential items with an Ender 3 V2. I am very, very happy with the end result. I mean, I could spend more money on it and get better prints, but for what I do, I'm really, really happy with the end result. And I design all of my stuff using 3D software that I used to use back in the days when I used to make 3D illustrations. I used to do product packaging and stuff like that in 3D, so that we would do a product design, and then we would wrap the packaging on the product, and then we would put it in situ in a supermarket and kind of generate a pretend image of what it would look like with our proposed packaging design. And I used to do stuff like that, and some little videos as well. And I use software called Lightwave, NewTek Lightwave 3D, and I use that for my designing. It's not designed for this. It's not really designed for making 3D models for 3D printing, but it's what I know, and it has some great features, and so it's what I use. Anyhow, I did think about getting one of the Ender 3 Pros, itching to get one, but was intrigued by the resin 3D printer that Mark from Mark Fixer Stuff demoed yesterday. Yeah, the resin printers are pretty amazing. They can do some incredible things and amazing detail and stuff like that, but they are fiddly. Many an episode of Star Trek in the 90s was animated using that. Yeah, there are a few movies that were done with Lightwave, movies and TV shows, but yeah, so anyhow, that's Lightwave is my choice of 3D modeling software. And so all of the stuff that you see that I might have made, whether it be battery holders or whatever, that's all been done in Lightwave. It's not necessarily what I would recommend for other people. I mean, as I said, the main reason I use it is because I know how to use it. I should actually make mention here, I'm just going to change views for a quick, this is this Color Classic that I was referring to, that we're working on at the moment, and I just wanted to make mention of the goo. I mean, see that when the light reflects here like that, see how it's shiny here and it's matte here? That's all capacitor leaky Rooney. And it's going to stink when I start taking these caps off. Okay, so let's go back to the scope view and let's start removing some of these caps. When I say let's, I mean it's just me doing it, but to some extent we're doing it together, aren't we? Yes, we are. Now this is the bit I always struggle with because I try not to damage serial numbers, but it's really hard to not damage serial numbers when you're doing this, and particularly with hot air. Maybe I might try doing this without hot air, eh? I do this method every now and again. It's tricky. It's not really something I recommend for a beginner, or if you are a beginner, have a little bit of a practice. So what I generally do with this is I get some flux and I will add some new solder, some fresh solder to the old solder. Seems silly, but it actually makes the old solder easier to remove. So adding some new solder to it, there, like there. Ow! Soldering iron hot. Okay, then we'll get our solder wick. Oh, Jeremy, super chat. Pew. You're helping. Yes, everyone is helping. Everyone here is helping. Francois, I don't think I said hello to you. Hello. Tea, Earl Grey hot. It's funny, I do actually drink Earl Grey tea. I love it. That's my main choice of hot drink. I'm not a big coffee drinker. I do drink coffee, but I react to caffeine, so I have to have decaffeinated stuff. So I mean, I know there is caffeine in tea, and there are some people that will argue, oh, if you really steep your tea in a big way, you get more caffeine from tea than you get from coffee. What I would say to that is my body tells me whether I've had caffeine or not, and it doesn't do it when I have tea. So I have tea. Right, so what we've done is we've removed as much of the excess as we can, but it's not enough. I mean, these caps will still be firmly on there. Now, while everyone sort of says, oh, why don't you just twist them and pull them? Just twist them and pull them. I don't do that. I've had to repair too many of them that have torn pads in the process. So you want to heat this up. Oop, ultrasonic's finished. I'm trying to heat this up and try and bend one side of it. Like that. Ouch. Just hurt myself, stabbed myself with some tweezers. Some great singing on Steve's stream from yesterday, by the way, guys. So, you know, check that out. There we go. Off he comes. You know, the argument that I always get from people who tear off components, it's the same argument they all give, and they say, "Oh, I've done it. I've done it heaps of times, and I've never torn a pad." And it's like, yeah, cool, sweet, that's all fine. But there is a big but there, and that is that you will one day tear a pad. And I'd just rather not have to repair that. I'd rather take them off without tearing a pad. You do enough of the twist and pull method, you will tear a pad. This one is really hard to get to because it's, you know, I might just add some solder. You know, the other side's already desoldered, so once I get this one melted, should be able to just take it off. Oh, I didn't let the chickens out. Terrible. Whoops, I just pressed the mouse. I hope I didn't like end stream or something. God, this one is being stubborn. What are you stuck to? I'm talking about tearing pads. I feel like I'm about to do it here. Oh, God. That was unbelievable. That was really on there. But anyhow, the goal, not damage the serial number. We didn't damage the serial number. Where did Bruce go? Yes, I use my hot air station as well, but there are kind of two things wrong with this particular part of the board. There's this thing here. That's fine. I can use some shielding to stop melting this plastic. So this is the PDS slot. But more importantly, it's this serial number. You know, they're printed on a plastic thingy here, and if I hit that with hot air, they're just going to melt. And I just don't like the look of it. On the other hand, over here, I can go crazy with a hot air station. Crazy, I tells you. I better let my chickens out there just whinging. Just give me 30 seconds here, I might be long. I'm back. So, yeah, the reason why things like my chickens are still locked up, I've had a very, very busy morning. I live streamed an hour earlier than usual. For people in the US who'd be like, no, it's the same time as usual. That's because you guys changed your clocks last weekend to daylight savings time. So in order for me to broadcast at the same time for you guys, I have to push it an hour earlier. So that's point number one. And then point number two is I had a meeting this morning, so it's a little bit rushed, So now I'm going to just change views to this one because the ultrasonic is finished. I'm going to have a look at this board and then we'll give it a rinse and we'll start drying it and then we can have a look at it. Okay, how do you look? God, the amount of corrosion on this thing is just extraordinary. There's corrosion on the pins. Oh, good God. Okay, looking a lot better. It's definitely a lot cleaner. In theory, I reckon this should probably have another, probably at least 15 minutes in the cleaner. But, in the interest of getting some work done today on it, I'll now just drop it. I'm dropping it into a bath of isopropyl alcohol. I have a great big container here full of, I don't know, I guess there's probably maybe 20, probably somewhere between 15 and 20 litres of isopropyl alcohol in this little plastic container. And I just submerge it in there, give it a little rinsey poo. What that does is that displaces any water with isopropyl alcohol, and that isopropyl alcohol dries a lot faster. So it means I can get this board dry much quicker. So it rinses off the ultrasonic cleaning fluid, and it also makes it dry faster. So now I'm going to drop it into a little toaster oven. I've got that sitting on around about 65, 70 degrees C, around about there. That's hot enough to dry it quicker, but not too hot to melt anything plastic. Did you catch that last super chat? Nah. Oh, thank you, Kai. Thank you, Kai, for the tea and or wine fund. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. 20 pound. Wonderful. Yes, I think it will probably be the wine fund because I'm doing an order today. Because I get through it at a rather alarming rate. So thank you very, very much for that. Much appreciated. And sorry I didn't see it sooner. So yes, thank you. I can stay up there now for a little while for one like that. Let's check. Let's check. I didn't change my clocks in Arizona. Why not? Is it only some states or something? I mean, I don't know. I mean, here, everyone does daylight savings except for Queensland. I think that's the way it works here. I'm pretty sure all states and territories do it except for Queensland. So anyhow, let's continue. We are removing capacitors. I'm looking for things. I had them just this morning. There it is. For anyone who was watching the stream that I was on yesterday, it wasn't my stream, it was Steve's stream, but anyone who was watching that, I did find my scalpel, so everything fine. Everything fine. Okay, so I get a few little heat shields here for getting these caps off, because there are plastic things around I don't want to wreck. And I don't want to get too much heat on that sound chip because it's likely to squeeze little solder balls out. And we don't want little solder balls floating around. As much as possible, we want to try and avoid that. She's about to blow. Yep, there she goes. I can't give her much more, Captain. She's about to blow. I've given her all she can take, Captain. Okay, so there's 2 more caps off, and we've got another one here, living right next. I should just mention for anyone who, doesn't have smell-o-vision enabled on their YouTube account, these caps smell awful. Oops. There we Yeah, sorry, sometimes the chat doesn't automatically roll forward. Yeah, so this board here, which is the Color Classic, this has got all this leaked electrolyte, and then what happens is dust sticks to it. So that's what we're looking at here at the moment. That's dust. If I just rub a Q-tip on this, you can see that there. It's just got this leaked electrolyte with dust sticking to it. When you look at an area of it's a dusty board, but when you have a look at an area here, you know, it's got dust here, but here it's actually dust that's stuck to the goop. This is why boards like this so desperately need cleaning when they get recapped as well. You know, you don't want to just do the recap, and you don't want to just do a clean. It has to be done as two things. I mention that mainly because there are people out there that are looking to shortcut it. And I can understand why, in particular if it's someone who has a computer, doesn't have particularly good soldering skills, wants to get the thing up and running, and they're like, oh, you know, I mean, I don't, I can just clean it and get it working again. And you go, yeah, you can, but it really is only a short-term solution. I have a lot of trouble finding decent Q-tips, to be honest. I used to have no trouble getting them, but then now my local supermarket don't stock the good ones that I like. They stock an expensive brand, but the expensive brand are rubbish Q-tips. We call them cotton buds here. They're just garbage. And so, you know, even though they're like this, you know, Johnson & Johnson reputable brand type situation, I think they're Johnson & Johnson. They might be Unilever, I'm not sure, whoever they are. The brand is called Swispers. Swispers. You want to see that one blow up? It blew up on the table. It's smoking now. And they're just rubbish. They fall apart. It's awful. Whee! About to christen my new ultrasonic cleaner with my 2CI cash card and some Blue Scuzzy. Good luck, Justin. What sort of fluid are you using on that, just out of curiosity? I'm assuming that you'll be using, say, Branson EC. Would that be a correct assumption? We can't get that out here. Well, you probably could, but you have to pay a fortune for it. I use a different product. Elmatec A1. Okay, tell us how that goes. I've never heard of that one. The only two I've ever tried, the one that I use, which is Electro, and then the other one is one that I've tried called Ambersil, and that was awful. Way too corrosive. Okay, we're going to take this diode off because we can. Because we're going to make this work on normal batteries from now on. And I'm just going to clean up these joints here that I took that diode away from. Come on, warm up soldering iron. Haven't got all day. Now, who was it that someone contacted me recently? It could have been someone in this chat. I can't remember, but they just contacted me to let me know about essentially a fault. Oh, we've got another one here. Thank you. Did you make any progress with the Mac 2 after the sound chip madness from Steve's stream? Didn't get back to it. That was ultimately, I mean, I spent so many hours on it. As soon as I finished that live stream, I went up and started enjoying my Saturday night, you know, getting some food happening and, you know, chatting to the wife and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't get any further. However, I have made the decision that I will remove that sound chip and replace it with a good one. But the disturbing thing about that was, finding that corroded trace so far away from any other damage on the board, which is really worrying, because it sort of means that there could be broken traces all over the damn thing. So, you know, and you know, when you have a broken trace in some places where you might test it, it's like, oh, I've got no serial, or oh, no, I've got no SCSI, or whatever. You know, you can single it down, but when it's like the thing won't start up, there are so many potential places you need to be looking. So, anyhow, the coda. Hey, what we fixing? At the moment, we're fixing a Macintosh Color Classic. We were working on a 575 that I incorrectly referred to as a 475. But I am cleaning that before we go in and start doing some major surgery on it. And in the meantime, I didn't want to waste time, so I came and did a little bit of this this Color Classic. I won't necessarily finish this Color Classic here today. We'll get back onto the 575 board as soon as we can. But so I'm just cleaning all the gunk off this, and I'm going to put UV solder mask on this. This is the little area where those little weird battery pins were hanging out. So, gonna do this, gonna do this, gonna do this, gonna get myself a paintbrush. Where's a paintbrush? Somewhere. There's a paintbrush. And gonna get my UV mask. It's just here. I always try and keep this in the same spot, and sometimes I even manage to do that. Okay, so we really don't need much on here. I've grabbed way too much, so it's just... This is actually going to be underneath the battery holder, so it's not like anyone's going to see it, but I just want it to be covered. Okay. Oh, Kai is off. Are you off, Kai? Okay. See you, Kai. Thank you for staying up this late. I do appreciate it, and thank you very much for the super chat. And obviously, thank you also for your time earlier today during our Tinker Different meeting. Great to have you. I don't know why I did that in a very poor Scottish accent, but for some reason that's just what came out of my mouth. Okay. Just rolling my solder back up again. I keep ending up with huge amounts of solder hanging out of the dispenser. Right, so let's get this dried up with my UV light. This is my UV laser. Pew pew. Just gonna do that. Incidentally, this is one of these boards that does not need a battery inserted to start up, though the number of times when people jump onto forums and they say, hey, I've got a Color Classic and it won't start up. And they go, oh, have you got a good PRAM battery in there? And it's like, no, don't need it. Misinformation. Stop it. But anyhow, there was something I wanted to mention here that I forgot to mention. Someone contacted me reasonably recently, again, someone who may have been in this chat, it may be in this chat, about this via right here. So what we have here is Y1, and that's a crystal oscillator right there, UP. I have no idea what the frequency is of it. What it is. But anyhow, there's an oscillator right there. And as you can see, we've got a trace running down here to right there. And he basically had one that looked fine, but that was shot. It wasn't running through to the other side of the board. So perhaps, you know, slightly bad design on Apple's part. But that's a really good thing to look out for. If you've got a board that you've recapped and it's not working, and it should, that could be your issue. Color Classic, another common issue with these is this guy here, this is your Egret chip, also known as the CUDA chip. And I believe that this will sometimes get damaged from hot plugging your ADB cable. This particular computer, it's a very common failing for this chip to go. So it's, you know, I'm trying to think of reasons why that might be the case. But yeah, that's one there. I keep plenty of spares of those. And this is another big problem here, the sound chip. The sound chip is responsible for the reset. And so if you've got this electrolyte here being conductive, the thing can get stuck in a permanent state of reset. And so that can be a problem as well. And obviously if you've got sound problems, you can have this happening as well. So yeah, there's plenty of scunge on this one here. I do want to have a look at this right here. I've got quite a black bit of trace and veer here. And I just want to clean that up some. One of the things that I do hate about working on Color Classic boards is the fact that all of the vias have got UV mask in it. So if you want to run a wire, you've got to poke this stuff out. And they are tiny holes. And so I make these little super thin little pokey things that I make from needles. I basically get a standard sewing needle, and then I file them down to a very fine point with the Dremel, and then I just use that for poking holes. Poke, poke, poke. Right, so let's just clean this one up, and then hopefully in the not too distant future we can begin looking at the other board. Oh, fume extractor. Stream needs an air compressor? Thank you for reminding me about the fume extractor. Even if you weren't, thank you for reminding me. Got to save them lungs. Especially when we get to this stage, as you can see, we get a lot of smoke coming up in this stage. And I definitely don't want to be breathing all that in. Where would I be without you, Jay? Jay is such a meticulous human being. It's just such the opposite of me. I mean, you know, when he talks about cleaning his workbench and stuff like that, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that too once. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I probably don't need any UV mask on that, but it's a prudent thing to do, so I will. A messy workbench is a busy workbench. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I can't really, I'm not going to try and justify my messy workbench other than saying that I am always crazy busy, and so I just don't, you know, I mean, I just keep working, you know. It's like you start working on this and then you work on something else and then something else, and then the next thing you know, you look at your workbench and it's like, it's terrible. I should be cleaning as I go, but I just don't do that. And it is a flaw, it is a fault. I do not want to try and talk other people into doing what I do. It's bad. I would like to do better. I will try and do better. I can justify mine, I'm lazy. Yeah, I hear you. Oh, geez, I need to make mention of a couple of things here, because this is a really important stuff. So, if anyone here who's watching is a watcher of the Mac Yak Show, and if you are, thank you very much. If you have never heard of the Mac Yak Show, it's a weekly program that we put on. Group of guys who are interested in Macs and Apple and of old and new, and we get together and talk about everything Mac. And anyhow, in the last show we were responding to an article written by someone, a Karen. I mean, her name really is Karen. She's not just a Karen. Who wrote an article on why you should not buy a second-hand Macintosh in 2022. And then proceeded to list all of these really bogus and one-sided reasons why you shouldn't buy a second-hand computer. And anyhow, look, it infuriated us because we are all about keeping the technology going for as long as possible. And some of the stuff she listed was just downright stupid. So anyhow, Jay from the House of Moth, Jay, if you want to put a link into your website, Jay wrote essentially a response to that video. And Steve made a video on it. So if you guys haven't seen that video, jump onto the Mac 84 channel and have a look at that and watch his video. It was really quite annoying to read because it was clearly someone just trying to sell Macs. The stuff they were saying was just nonsense for a lot of it. Some of it you can kind of say, yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. And to some extent, I don't even mind someone doing an article on it. But instead of saying why you shouldn't buy a second-hand Mac in 22, it should be more about buying a second-hand Mac in 2022 and talk about pros and cons. Now, this person didn't list any pros for buying a second-hand Mac in 2022. The most obvious being a huge savings in money. No mention of that whatsoever. And that was really infuriating to read that article. So anyhow, those responses are there. As I say, written response from Jay on the House of Moth website, and and then a video response. And I think there's even a link to the video in Jay's written one there. So just check it out if you get a chance, because there was some extremely good points made about why it's actually really good to get a second-hand computer. And if you're in a situation where, you're needing a computer and you don't have a lot of money, but you just need something that can, get you by or whatever, I mean, you can get yourself a really good, fast, responsive computer second-hand. Yeah, anyhow, it made us all pretty darn angry. Steve actually stayed up all night and did his. And I think he then stayed up all night the next night too, so he's good at that. Okay, these ones don't look too bad. I don't see any really bad corrosion. I don't see any breaks in the, you can see the traces coming off the sides of the pads. I don't see any little stuff up in there. So we're looking pretty good there. Let's have a look at this one. Yeah, well, my main computer is a 2012 Mac Pro. That's a dual hex core 3 gigahertz. So that's like 12 cores of 3 gigahertz. I've got a 2 terabyte SSD, M2 SSD startup drive on that. And then I've got a USB 3 card in it. And then I've got an RX 590 as my display card. I've got an external enclosure that has, I don't know, 10 terabytes or something connected to it. It's a real workhorse. I mean, yes, sure, brand new Mac's going to work faster than it, but it's also going to cost me thousands of dollars. This one here, it does everything I need. It really, really well. And so one of the things she said in the article was, if you get an old Mac, you will be plagued with, plagued with crashes and unreliability and crashes or something like that. And I was like, this bloody Mac Pro is rock solid. The thing never crashes. In actual fact, if it does crash, I will immediately go and try and find the cause, because it doesn't crash. So if something does happen, there's a problem somewhere. Maybe a drive failing or something like that. But it was just such nonsense, and as I say, quite infuriating to read. The computer I'm using right now to live stream from is a 2020 Mac Mini, and it does a sterling job here. The CPU's up pretty high at the moment, but it's doing the job. I am live streaming. I've got my little bandwidth, little gauge thing here showing me what I'm streaming at. So it's just such a ridiculous notion. It's a notion by someone who is, it's a notion by someone who is essentially trying to sell Apple computers. They've got affiliate links in there, and they're probably getting a decent kickback for everyone they sell. but it's someone who is probably a very privileged person who has loads and loads of money, disposable cash, because to just kind of say to someone, don't buy a second-hand computer, buy a new one, is extremely presumptuous about their financial status. You know, I mean, not everyone has a spare, you know, $3,000 or whatever, $2-3 to drop on a new computer at the drop of a hat. It's just not an option for a lot of people. I mean, I repair computers for people. I repair old computers for people who are financially quite well off. But it still doesn't mean they want to be sinking that sort of money in a new computer every, you know, sort of every few years. Keep the things going as long as possible. The newest computer I have in my house is a 2013. The only thing newer in terms of Apple products are like my phone. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm just laughing at one bit Fever Dreams comment there about changing the file type of a pic. Yeah, I should actually make mention that if we're talking about second-hand computers, if we're going all the way back to OS 9, yeah, you might have a few reliability issues there. Okay, I don't like the look of this. Oh no, actually that's okay. There's a fair bit of corrosion here, but now that I look at it, I'm pretty sure that'll still be connected through to the other side. We can test that though, I guess. Glasses. These are the wrong glasses. These are the right glasses. Oh, these are the dirty glasses. So yeah, anyhow, I mean, that article, it's just, I'm glad that we did write some responses to it. We did create some responses. I mean, I didn't do one. I knew that Steve and Jay would do a wonderful job. For me to do one would just seem unnecessary. Okay, that does go through to the other side, so I'm happy. Yeah, just frustrating stuff to hear people saying something like that, in particular at the moment where a lot of people are feeling the squeeze. I mean, you know, things haven't exactly been smooth sailing for a lot of people. People have been losing their jobs. You know, I mean, people, you know, I mean, I know people who have had to, you know, have ended up, you know, cutting back on hours and stuff like that, or people who have had to eat into their holiday time, you know, sort of during sort of lockdowns during the pandemic and stuff like that. I mean, people aren't feeling particularly confident about financial stuff, and then of course there is a little bit of mischief going on in other parts of the world at the moment too. At a time like this, you can totally understand people saying, you know what, I'm not sure I want to sink $3,000 on a new computer. I might keep this one going, or I might go and buy myself a newer one that's still second hand. M1 Mini. Oh, I am envious. I would actually like to use an M1. More than anything for Final Cut Pro. I mean, looking at the performance that the M1 has on Final Cut Pro is fantastic. But once again, I can't justify it. What I've got is really good enough for me. What is that component underneath the cap? That there is an inductor. So you can see it's labelled with an L. So anything labelled with an L is an inductor. And you'll actually find lots of them on the board. They're the ones that are usually kind of grey. Let me see if I can find some other ones here for you. They look... These are all big ones. I was looking for some little ones. These all look the same. Okay. But anyhow, yes, it's an inductor. L for loop. Is a new M1 Mini really worth $1,000? Well, I can tell you one thing, they're a hell of a lot more than $1,000 here. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, you will eventually reach a point where you will need to buy a new computer. No one's denying that. I'm not saying that you keep using computers forever. I mean, I've been playing around with this 2008 Xserve. Now, you know, that thing's got some pretty serious grunt in it, but it's a huge computer. And I can only go up to Snow Leopard on it. I can't go, well, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I can go to Lion, but why would you? Yeah, so, you know, at a certain point, yes, the computers will reach a level of obsolescence that we will probably need to all buy new computers. Sure, I accept that. But, you know, if you were to look at getting, say, I don't know, like a 2015 computer, something like that, and you're still going to have years, you'll get years worth out of that. I'm just going to clean up all the pads. Once I clean up the pads, I'll then grab the other board. We'll have a look at that. So in other words, I'm doing all of this recapping except for the actual recapping. And that's just mainly because of time. If we get a chance, we'll come back to it. But and then, in actual fact, we'll come back to it if we look at that board and it's just a hopeless cause. Which I think it is. But we don't want to give up before we've started. These are cleaning up really well. These are just a really, really easy job to clean up these pads. I haven't had to scrape anything. Just added a bit of new solder and a bit of a gentle rub, and then just take the solder away. Just leaves us with a lovely, clean, shiny pad all ready for a new cap. So, yeah, it's as good as it gets. Basically, this is really good. So this leaky stuff hasn't really been on the board long enough to do any serious damage. There may be a couple of dark traces, but on the whole, this will just get sorted with new caps and a good clean. 2014 Retina MacBook Pro, and love it. Yep. Look, you know, as I said before, the newest Mac I have here is a 2013. So I'm using a 2012 in here, 2012 Mac Mini. I've got my 2012 Mac Pro, that's a 5.1, is my main computer. I've got a 2012 15-inch MacBook Pro as my main laptop. My wife also has a 2012 15-inch MacBook Pro as a main laptop. I also have an old 17-inch Core 2 Duo 3 gigahertz 17-inch laptop, and I like that because I like the great big screen. I use that sometimes. And actually, my wife has one of those as well because, you know, why have one laptop when you can have two? And I think I've got an old 11-inch Air, and I've got an old 13-inch Air. That's from, I think, 2011 or 2012, something like that. And then I've got a couple of 2013 iMacs, but I don't really need them. I haven't really figured out what to do with them yet. I might give some away. And then my wife also uses a 2012 Mini as her main computer. So, you know, we're all around about that sort of, I guess, around about the 10-year-old mark, and these things are still working beautifully, so I'm not going to get rid of them yet. Oh, and incidentally, the 2012 MacBook Pro that I use, my main laptop, I've got Monterey on it. Open core, running the latest operating system. Runs really well. So, what do you got to complain about? Nothing. All right, so there it is. This is the board. We have taken the caps off. Taken all the caps off, cleaned up all the pads, ready for new caps to go on. I have removed the little thingies for the old battery holder, and we'll put a new battery holder on there. One just like this. I'm going to plonk that on there, so we're all ready for the old half AA battery. So that will go on there, but I'll put that on after ultrasonic cleaning, because otherwise, you know, I mean, it's just a lot easier to clean without it on there, and then pop that on afterwards. And then we'll be good to go, and then I can take this silly thing off as well. I'll take that off now, actually. This is a Velcro-y type thing that the battery sticks to. God, that's on there. God, the goop underneath this is extraordinary. My newest Mac is an eMac. Yeah, no, interesting thing with the eMac is, what's great about the eMac is that screen, that super sharp flat screen. I mean, they are just awesome. What is bad about the eMac, they have bad caps in them. So they were ones, I think, made during that capacitor capacitor plague, so they quite commonly have problems with them that have to be repaired, and they are heavy. I mean, far out. You grab a dictionary, look up the definition of heavy, and you'll find an EMAC in there. But having said that, I do have an EMAC, just the one. I got it for free, and it came with the swivel stand on the bottom. And to be honest, I think that swivel stand, they should have just come standard with it. What a fantastic thing those swivel stands are. Yeah. I'm just getting this goop off. There's all this snot. This snot's been left behind. I could probably use some goof off, which is just basically acetone. This is just acetone. Do you guys have goof off over there as well? I mean, as I say, it's just acetone. I mean, it could be called anything. It could just be called acetone, but here it is marketed as goof off. Nasty stuff, acetone, by the way. Yeah, if you have a look at the, where is it? 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 I'm sure it says it here somewhere. So much little writing. And in lots of languages. Anyhow, I'm sure I read it on there somewhere that it's acetone. I mean, it certainly smells like acetone. Woo, getting high. I do not condone that. Do not get high from acetone, because it will probably kill you. Okay. Right, so that board is all ready for new caps and a good clean. We'll put this to one side. We may come back to it in this stream, but we have bigger fish to fry. We have an LC575 that I mistakenly called a 475. Yeah. So this has been in there for 40 minutes. That's certainly enough for us to work on it. And it's still pretty darn disgusting. So that whole idea about using vinegar to start off with is probably not a bad idea. Maybe later. If I would typically have one like this for, I would leave it in the cleaner for about half an hour. So, some of the things that we have to do here, we have got to remove these chips, clean up all those little pins, and then plonk the chips back down again. How are these RAM chips looking? Going to look at these from an angle. Yeah, look at that. Actually, I don't know if you can see it, but if I can hold this still enough. I sort of feel like virtually every component needs to come off this board. Vinegar soak was able to revive a dead Game Boy I got off eBay. Yeah, look, I mean, I've got plenty of vinegar. I guess, I mean, I've got cooking vinegar and I've got cleaning vinegar. I guess I'll drop it in a bit of cleaning vinegar. We've got a nice bit of green going on here in this slot. I guess the advantage is not many people have the thing to go in the slot. Yeah. All right, well, let's get started. Let's start with the big guy. So we're going to take this chip off. As you can see, it's a damn big chip. In order for us to get all of that solder, I think I'm nearly out of flux here. This one's getting increasingly hard to squeeze. In order for us to get it all hot, it's going to take a fair bit of heating. So I'm going to get the hot air station out. Might get a little bit of heat shielding going on here, because there's going to be so much heat applied to this board. I mean, I will do my best not to melt anything, but at the same time, if I do melt something, I won't feel that much shame because this board is in such a terrible state. Okay. All right, now we get a little heat shield. Just adding a little bit of extra shielding. Ouch, I just stabbed myself. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Right. So, hot air. Now, you're not going to be able to see all this because the chip's so friggin' big. Now, get that flux in and around. And then we're going to heat this up. And this whole chip is going to get super hot, hot enough to actually melt the solder. There are attachments, I'll do this with the top view. There are attachments you can get for hot air stations that will allow you to blow air down like each side without heating the middle of the chip. I have not been able to find those attachments for this hot air station. But having said that, I think some of them are universal and you can just sort of attach them on any hot air station. But I don't have them, so I'm having to do it this way, where I'm heating the edges. And then once I feel like I'm getting to a point where it's getting hot enough, I then just kind of nudge the chip. And then eventually it'll just give way. Just make sure you don't pull these away before they're ready. That was one of my early mistakes. I was working on a MacBook Pro 17-inch. I needed to remove a chip. I was using a not particularly good hot air station. And those boards really absorb a lot of heat. And I'd had the heat there for ages and ages and ages. I thought, oh, it's got to be by now. And so I started nudging it and I pushed it too hard and tore off a few pads, made a real mess of it. This is years ago, by the way. So before I started doing recapping. Starting to move, it's starting to give. And one thing you don't want is to let that, when you're sort of desoldering something, you try and hold it up long enough for the solder to solidify, because you can sometimes desolder and then you move the chip and it goes back down and then it resolders itself to some of the pads. So there's my chip. He's going to be damn hot, so I won't touch him for the moment because that would be foolish. And now we need to jump across to the microscope and see what we can do about getting these pads back to nice. Off to dinner. Bye. See you, Jeremy. Oh, hello, Rudy. I haven't said hello to you. Hello, Rudy. How are you? Excellent. I'll just check and see. I've got 54 people watching at the moment. Hello to you all. If you haven't said hello, please feel free to jump on and say hi, and I will respond if I see your message. And one of the problems that happens once you get to 50 or 60 people is sometimes the chat moves too fast for my little brain. So I'm just getting a decent amount of flux, I'm having a lot of trouble here because I'm right on the end of the tube. That's it. I've given up. No more on that tube. New tube time. New tube. Oh, I've got a whole bunch of flux that's squeezed out the side here, so I'm going to utilise that. Look at it, heaps of it. There we go. There's about a Rossmann's worth of flux. How about that? Okay. There's heaps of flux there. I'm going to use that. All right, so let's put this somewhere where I don't accidentally stick my finger in it, because that would be like putting your finger into a used tissue. Enzo Fitzhume, hello. Reed Reinfeld, hello. Once again, thank you to all for joining. So this is probably a waste of time, and I know I know that's very defeatist of me to say that, but I really do have concerns that what I'm actually doing here at the moment is going to be a complete waste of my time. But at the very least, it's an opportunity for me to, I guess, show a few techniques, I suppose. Now, I'm trying to clean up these pads with a bit of solder and heat. And as you can see, these ones here are responding to the treatment quite well. These ones here, not so much. They've got so much crusty stuff baked on that I can't get through it. So I am actually going to have to scrape them mechanically. So let's just get some of this solder off. And then we will begin our scrapey journey. Well, that'll do for now. Ow! Ow! Sorry, I burned myself on the edge of the solder wick. I've done that many times before. It's actually one of the things that I find happens the most. Rather than burning myself on the iron itself, I burn myself on things that the iron makes hot. So I burn myself on chips, I burn myself on tweezers, I burn myself on, what was that thing I just touched? Solder wick. But what I would say to anyone who gets into a bit of soldering is just get ready to burn yourself on a fairly regular basis, because it happens. Just trying to scrape off all this crusty stuff, expose fresh copper, stuff that will accept solder. When you're having trouble getting solder to stick to something, and you're generally, your problems are usually going to be either you don't have enough heat in your iron, you don't have enough flux, or what you're soldering is dirty. And never underestimate that last one. Things have to be clean to solder to them. And I see it all the time. You see people posting pictures of their soldering and they're having trouble and they're going, oh, why won't this work? And it's like, it's dirty. You got to clean that. But virtually all of these pins here, these ones that had all the crust on them like this, all of these pads, the pins had actually lifted off. So they were no longer bonded to the pad. So every single one of these little here, we weren't getting continuity through. So, it's not like this can be ignored. It's something that has to be dealt with. GT, hello. Burned my little finger 2 days ago on my hot air nozzle. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that. I hear you, man. Justin is here. Hello, Justin. Or have you always been here? Has he always been here? I forget from one stream to the next, because I streamed yesterday with Steve, and I was there for hours, so I get a little bit confused about who I was talking to yesterday and who I've been talking to today. What day is it? Change your banner to working on an LC575. Yes, sir. And LC575. Tis done. And of course we've got to do some reconditioning on the pins of the chip as well. That's something I'm not looking forward to because they're very thin pins. And it'd be very easy for me to bend them or damage them in the process of cleaning them. You see the way when you have that transition from a trace to a pad, you often end up with this little dip like that there. I don't know if you can see that little dark spot right there. God, everything's got flux on it now. That's right. No, yes, you were. I remember you were here earlier because we talked about your ultrasonic cleaner. So, did you put the CI in the ultrasonic cleaner? You're probably just talking about that now. One of the big problems with a 2CI board is it doesn't fit in a lot of cleaners. You have to do it in 2 halves. Back is feeling better. Okay, oh, that's good to hear. I often end up with a little bit of back pain when I've been bent over this microscope for too many hours. When I scrape here, I really don't mind about the fact that I'm scraping more than just the pads, that I'm scraping on either side. It also gives me an opportunity to just expose some of the weak points of these traces, which there is a weak point generally right near where it becomes a pad. And by exposing that, I can see, you know, the condition of it and whether we're likely to have a break in there. And these ones all look pretty good. And we'll put some fresh solder on them and that'll help toughen them up a bit. Scrapey, scrapey, scrapey. Okay, so, so what we might do now is get a little bit more fluxarene up on the top here. And then we'll get some more solder on there, and then we'll clean it up with some wick, and then we'll have a look at the chip, see what the condition that's in. Suggestion: take the pins of the chip and just dip into vinegar and then rinse off in IPA. Not to use any mechanical means of cleaning them to reduce the chances of breaking. Yeah, I might give that a try. I may well give that a try. I'll have a look at the chip first, see what state it's in. How long in the vinegar do you reckon? Okay, now let's get wicking. Fluxarene. Apple's Anonymous is here. Hello, hello, hello. I am going to make banh mi for dinner tonight. I don't know if anyone there knows what banh mi is, but I'll give someone an opportunity to respond if they do. It is one of my favouriteest things to eat. It's typically more of a lunchtime thing, but I make them for dinner just because they're nice. I do mine slightly different to how the Vietnamese would normally do them, but I stick more or less to the thread. So banh mi is basically a Vietnamese. I guess if we were talking in American terms, it's like a sub. Out here, it's what we would call a bread roll or a roll. And so it is basically, you get, because obviously for people who, who may or may not know much about sort of Vietnamese culture, there's a very strong French influence there. So their bread making skills are pretty darn awesome. And we have quite a lot of Vietnamese people here in this country, and there are a lot of Vietnamese bread shops. And anyhow, they make these lovely, crusty, long rolls, bread rolls. So they're like a bread roll about that sort of size, I guess. They're like a half a baguette type thing. Oh no! And basically they put some pate on there. They put some pickled daikon and some pickled carrots sometimes as well. They put pork. What else? Sometimes some cucumber. Sometimes some lettuce or some spring onion, stuff like that. And yeah, really tasty. So it's just like, it's like a sub or a bread roll type thing, and beautiful. But when I make them using what we call chicken schnitzel, but I believe what the Americans call breaded chicken. So I get some chicken thighs and I flatten them out, and then I coat them in flour and egg and breadcrumbs. I use the Japanese breadcrumbs, the panko breadcrumbs, and then shallow fry them, and then you chop them up and you put them on this roll with, soy sauce, chili and sweet chili sauce, and pickled carrots and pate and mayonnaise, and oh man, one of my favourite things to eat, I'm telling you. Any time of the day or night, I am happy to have a banh mi. Right, let's clean this up a little. So I did move some of these pads up here, which is a bummer. It's not ideal. They do get, what often happens with these, in particular when you hit with them with the soldering iron, the adhesive which is holding those on softens when it gets hot. So if you're too rough with it, like I clearly was here, that pad will move. But you'll probably find that now that pad won't move much anymore because it's had a chance to cool down. That adhesive will stick better. So I'm just going to clean some of this flux off. Flux on, flux off. Philly cheesesteak. I don't even know what a Philly cheesesteak is, so someone will have to explain that to me. Okay, well I think we should be able to actually stick the component on here now. I think it will stick. There we go. Shaved beef steak. Okay. What's the cheese part? I assume they put cheese on it. What should we do? Successfully replaced the capacitor in my, was that Creek integrated amplifier? Excellent. Saved me money and being, without my, well, okay, cool, excellent. Well done. I'm very, very pleased you're able to fix something that is, that's as much as, the goal that I'm aiming for. If I can share a bit of this knowledge so that people can fix their own stuff, we're all doing well. So this is the one where the recommendation has been made to me to just drop this in some vinegar for a bit. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to listen. I'm going to grab provolone. Yum. Swiss or provolone and has green bell peppers and onions. Yum. Cool. Okay, so excuse me while I do the back soon. I'm just going to. The vinegar's just over there, but I need to get a receptacle to put the vinegar in. So I'm just going to go grab that now, and I will be right back soon. Hello, how are you today? Got my little receptacle, got my little chip, I'll pop him in there, and I'm going to vinegar it. And I just managed to get my stand for this hour on my watch. Okay, this is cleaning vinegar, by the way. Non-toxic vinegar, biodegradable vinegar. 100% Australian made and owned. Yay! Right. How long does it need to stay in the vinegar for? Whoever suggested that. Toss a spoon of baking soda in there to speed things up. But this is acid and bicarb of soda is alkaline. Isn't that just going to neutralize each other? It'll go fizz. You reckon it'll speed it up? I'll listen to Jay. He has good ideas from time to time. Baking soda. Here we are. Does everyone know about the super glue trick with baking soda? You can actually kind of make stuff with, not really make stuff, but if you're trying to glue things, and super glue, of course, is very thin and sort of, it's not very viscous. You can build stuff up using baking soda and super glue. Super glue has this kind of weird chemical reaction with baking soda. So here's what I was going to do. I'm going to do something a bit funny here. I'm going to put the baking soda all over this thing. Then I'm going to drop it in the vinegar. I have some pretty sad 2SI boards, not terribly corroded, but will need some new CPUs and oscillators. Think you could take it on? Well, oscillators generally not a problem. You can buy replacement oscillators. You can just buy them quite easily. I've actually got spare oscillators for the 2SI here. The chips, the CPUs though, yes, you can definitely get them because I mean they're just an 030. Better not bubble over the edge. Two SIs are really finicky. I've got one here at the moment where I've recapped and done all the work and it still doesn't work. I've done all the cleaning up and everything and it's still not going. I would feel a lot more confident about getting that going before I took on another one. So watch this space, I guess. I haven't been taking much work on lately. I've just because I've been so busy. I could see that it was only getting to a certain length, so a certain height, so I was confident about putting more in. So anyhow, there it is. It's sitting in that. We'll let it sit for a bit, and while we're waiting, I guess we can take another chip off. Let's do that. Let's do that. Scope view. Okay. Just checking all this, just checking the chat because it goes by pretty quick when there's 50 people watching. So let's see if we can remove this. Now this one here, again, you can see all these pins. They're not stuck. They're not stuck. They are. They're not. That's not. So he's got to come off. There's no way that we can just leave that as it is. Wow, look at that. It's nice, isn't it? Okay. Don't want to melt the headphone socket, so I'm going to grab something to protect. Stop it. There we go. Or do we? That'll do. Don't mind if that gets a little hot. Just don't want the headphone socket to melt. Right, let's get some hot air onto this now. We'll get this one off. This one I think will come off a lot easier than the other one because a lot of these pins aren't stuck down. Whoops, I'm melting plastic. Can anyone else see me melting plastic? Okay. You wouldn't mind sending them out to you. I'm sure they are. Where are you located? I should probably ask that, Jake. Which part of the world are you located? Are you in Australia, or are you looking at having to send them internationally? Let's try this fiberglass pencil we've heard so much about. The fiberglass pencil definitely does do a good job, but I think this level of corrosion it might just be a little bit too much for it. Because it is getting it off, but it's not getting it off with the same speed as me using a scalpel like this. On the food topics, do you gents and AU have scrapple? Don't think so. I mean, I am not the authority on everything here, so there could be, but I don't think so. Can you tell me what scrapple is? And I'll tell you whether we maybe have it and call it something else. We have Scrabble, if you like word games. Anyone else doing the Wordle thing? I've been doing the Wordle thing. Is pig brains. Well, I mean, you can buy pig brains here, but it's not like a national dish or anything like that. Here's a nice big broken trace. Right there. We'll hone in on that in a moment, but I hate the broken traces that go in rather than the ones that go out, because it means I've got to do the wire repair before I put the chip on. See, these ones I can repair afterwards. This one's way worse than the one we just took off. Hive Mind, how long should I leave that chip in the baking soda for? Yes, I mean, I'm not averse to food made from leftover meat, because they usually make that stuff so yummy. It's usually fatty, it's usually salty, and that sort of stuff can end up often being incredibly tasty, even if it's really bad for you. Obviously, one of the bad things about brains is they are very high in cholesterol. They're like about the highest cholesterol thing you can have is a brain. Brains are like really, really high cholesterol. So if you're trying to watch your cholesterol, maybe not so good for you. I mean, I am very in favour of eating as much of an animal as possible. If you are going to kill an animal to eat it, you want to utilise as much of that animal as possible. I think that is a sensible thing to do. If you are someone who is like a vegetarian and doesn't like the slaughtering of animals, that's fine. I mean no disrespect. I am not one of those people. But I am one of those people that believes that if we are going to eat an animal, we should provide it with a half decent existence before we kill it. So things like battery hens or sow stalls for pigs and stuff like that, I am very much against that. I think that, you know, whatever animal, if we are going to eat an animal, we should just, you know, it's like, okay, well, we're going to take your life, and in return we're going to treat you nicely in the lead up to that. I do not expect other people to all have the same views as me. You might say, no, that's wrong, whatever, that's fine. I'm not really preaching this stuff, it's just what I believe. One thing I can tell you is eggs from happy chickens taste way better than eggs from unhappy chickens. I can tell you that with experience. This is still awful. Time for me to go. Well, thank you very much for joining, Rudy. I do appreciate having your company here. And have a good evening, I guess. Rest of the evening. What time is it? 1 o'clock here, or 1:15, so yeah. More scrapey. Haggis. I actually have some haggis in the freezer here at the moment. So someone bought it for me and I haven't eaten it. You know, it surprised me. The first time I ate haggis, it really surprised me. I was expecting something that would be more like a chorizo or something like that. You know, it would be more like a kind of a more of a tough sort of sausage type thing, you know. But it's actually really squishy. It's not like that at all. I mean, it's okay. It wouldn't be my first choice. While I am enjoying doing this for a live stream, you know that the minute I finish this live stream, I'm going to be sending a message to the person who owns this board and saying to them, how important is it for you to have this working? As in, what would you consider a dollar value to have this working? Truth is that there is actually, in the past when I've seen people hunting for LC575 boards, they find them. And I think it's probably because there are a lot of broken 575 cases out there. And so people have just saved the board. And remember, don't be like me. Don't get them mixed up with a 475. I'm going to have a look at our little vinegar chip in a moment. Just checking up with the chat there. Lots of food chat going on there, which is fine by me. Right. Let's have a look-see at him. Oh, Jay is doing a live stream. What time is it now? What time is it now, Jay? Is Jay even listening to me? Or he may not even be on the chat anymore. still pretty ugly here. Let's go down and have a look at this up close. Jay is doing a live stream. I will try and send some... Oh! I'll try and send some people his way, depending on how long I go for. As I have sort of said before, I mean, I generally try and go for around about the 2 to 3 hour mark. And we're already 2 hours 15, so I probably won't be going for too much more. As I did say at the beginning, there was really no chance of finishing this board today. There's way too much work. What am I going to do with this chip? Solder is not going to adhere to those pins. As simple as that. Streaming in 1 hour. Don't worry, Jay, I will be finished by then. This is so bad. Essentially what we need to do is we need to make it so that these pins look like this. They need to be nice and shiny. And they are far from that at the moment. I've got a few ideas of things I might do, but they involve this chip being dry. So this is the vinegar chip. This is one that's been sitting in the vinegar and baking soda all that time. I'm going to put it back. I've got to put another one in there with it. Yeah, so I will probably use sandpaper. I actually, it won't be sandpaper. I use, if I've got it here somewhere, I buy these from, I get these from makeup shops, you know, ladies shops with makeup and things. Shouldn't say that. I'm sure there are plenty of men out there that like to wear makeup as well. But they you know, stores that have beauty stuff. And I have this guy here, and it's for nails, and it's got different strength of filing stuff on there. So it's quite a gentle file, but there's this is the coarsest one, and then that's slightly less coarse, and that's slightly less coarse, and then that's this. You can actually shine things with this. I use this for shining 3D prints. I'm going to do it to my nail, and you see what it does. So, Okay, and I don't know if you can see it. It gets really glossy. Can you see that? See how glossy it is? So, anyhow, I will probably use this. I'll probably use this one here, and I'll just get the chip and I'll sit it on it, and I'll just gently be rubbing it backwards and forwards to try and get some of that crud off. It does work, you know. I use it on other chips like shush chicken, like one like this. You can't really see, but that one is a little bit corroded, and then you just kind of, you know, you rub it on this, and you get nice and shiny. So I'm going to try it. Chip might fall apart, but I might give it a try. Right. Okay. So. Self-speed increasing Dremel. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I don't know why. Brass wire brush and a slow Dremel. Here are all my Dremel fittings. I don't think I have a brass wire brush. Got little polishy things, I think. Something like that. That's like little plastic brush. What's this one? That's a little polishy type thing, and it's got this polishing stuff, polishing compound. Another little metal one. There we go. So anyhow, there's a little tour of my drill. This is my favourite one. This one here with the little cutting wheels, and with they're like a quick release, so you can just. Yeah, not that quick. It helps if you can see what you're doing. There we go. Okay, so you get these little cutting wheels like that, and you get that little fitting there, and then you can just, and you can buy them in a packet of cutting wheels like that, and just fit it like that. They're awesome, awesome. I have a theory behind why it speeds up, Jay, and I think it's something to do with as it gets warmer. As it gets warmer, it's impacting on the variable resistor somehow or other. So that's my theory. Because even if I put it up full crank, it still speeds up as I go. Right. So all right, I'll just do a quick little recap of where we are. So this is this board here with all of these problems. Now we'll just have a quick look at this under the microscope so I can just show you something, because I'm about to abandon this board and probably just stick the caps on that other one I was doing just to feel like I finished something. If we have a look at this, we're going to get right down close. We have got there's 1, 2, that'll probably need fixing, 3, 4, 5, that'll probably need 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 possibly, we'll see. They're all trace brakes, they all need to be repaired if there is any hope of this thing having a functional SCSI. You know, they're just on that one chip there's probably, I don't know, 40 minutes work. So you know, I just need to pick the battles. And I suspect with that one there, when I let the owner of that know sort of costs they're going to be looking at in order for me to repair it, it's all very well for me to have something to work on here today. I'm not going to charge them for the work I've done today if they say they don't want to repair it, because I did this as part of the live stream, you know, and I did this without consulting them or anything like that. So, but if I were to be, you know, perfectly honest with that person, I would be saying, look, don't repair it. It's not worth it. Anyhow, we've got a Colour Classic here, good old Colour Classic. We like these because these are pretty easy to recap. There are not many caps on them. I think there's only what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's one microfarad 50 volt, 2 100 microfarad 6.3, and the rest are 47 16s. But in order for us to check and confirm that, we can always find that out at recapamac.com.au. There you will find recapping guides aplenty. Oh God, the chicken is just driving me bananas at the moment. Shush. Shush. Recap a Mac. I don't want to go too far, but I am going to say at this particular given moment, it is the most thorough, the most complete recapping resource on the internet today. I think it is anyway. There we go. So yeah, we've got, sorry, it's not a 150, it's a 1016. So I've got one 1016, 2 100 6.3s, and then the rest is 47 16s. So let's start recapping. Do. Oh, I nearly did a Joe. I nearly started the doobie-doos. There's a bloody chicken out there. The other day they were making a hell of a racket, and it turned out there was a hawk hanging around the backyard. I was, I think, thinking about trying to knock one off. And okie dokie. So I'm just totally all over the place at the moment. I will try and undo that. Right, so let's start getting some caps on this, shall we? Okay. So we'll start off with our 10 microfarad 16 volt. Now, I need to update the links on my website because I've generally been sending links to recaps that are to caps for this size They're actually bigger than the ones I now use. I used to use bigger ones, but I've now used these little ones. They work. They're nice little package, nice and easy to solder. Good night, Wayne. Oh, 4 in the morning. No one likes that. What on earth? What can 4 in the morning possibly have to offer you? But thank you for joining. I'm applying flux in a really weird way at the moment because I've got all this excess flux that has come out the side of my flux tube, and I don't want to waste it, so I'm just using it. But it's just kind of gross and everywhere. So there we go, a little 10 microfarad 16 volt cap. Hello from Emily and Sam in Birmingham, Alabama. Hello there to you. Thank you very much for joining. We are... Oh, I better change this. We are no longer working on an LC575. We are working on a Color Classic. C-O-L-O-U-R. Sorry, folks, but that's how we spell it in this country. And I took the caps off and cleaned it before, and now we're just putting new caps on. So this is, you know, we're pretty close to finish with this one. The LC575 I was working on before, that I incorrectly called a 475, is either not going to get done or is a long-term project, and that will depend on speaking to the owner when I advise them how much it's going to cost if they want me to keep working on it. Scary stuff. So then we've got 200 microfarad 16s up here. I don't even necessarily object to the removal of the U in colour. I mean, but the point is that my general feeling is that if you're going to go down the path of bringing efficiency to some of these words, let's just keep going with that. You know, if you have a C with an S sound, let's change it so that it's spelt with an S. Or if you have a C with a K sound, let's change it and replace it with a K. You know, it sort of seems to me just plucking off a couple of letters here and there, it's not really solving the problem, is it? Do. Dipendra Katiwoda. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but anyhow, that was my crack at it. Thank you very much for saying so. I do appreciate that. And as much as possible when I'm doing these live streams, I'm just trying to, I don't know, just trying to have a bit of a banter, just chat away while I'm doing this stuff. Some people have an interest in the recapping side of things or in the soldering side of things. But at the same time, while I'm doing this stuff, I'm always trying to just talk about stuff, things in general. Food and movies is definitely one of the ones that I've had. Has anyone seen any good movies lately? Just curious, because always on the lookout. Finished watching a TV series on Netflix called The Serpent. Don't know if anyone's seen that. That was quite good. Enjoyed that. Let's spin the board around. Oh, thank you very much, Jay. He's put the little advertising in there for my website. This is where I have all my recapping guides. Fume extractor is not doing its thing. There we go. Straight. Really having trouble getting this straight. There we go. Okay, they're pretty good now. Watching Paranoia Agent, a surreal anime miniseries by Satoshi Kon. Interesting. I have to admit, I have never watched any anime, ever. But it's... I guess I do have a certain interest in it, but I've never really, it's just not something I've ever kind of gotten into. Nicolas Cage has a new movie coming out, looks entertaining. No, it's not The Rock 2. Yeah, Jay's having a little bit of a go at a show that I watched called Archive 81, which I really liked. But when I had a couple of drinks on Mike's live stream, when I said Archive 81, I may have slurred it just a little bit. Slurred it to the point that someone actually accused me of sounding like Joe Biden. So that just gives you an idea of how mumbled I was. Righty. More flux. I enjoyed Archive 81. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was my sort of thing. It was kind of an unsettling air about it, which I really enjoyed. I kind of liked that. Something else I watched before that, which was really good. I can't remember what it was called. I'm going for a lot of mini-series and stuff these days. I like the completeness of them. Station 11, Emotional Roller Coaster. This was interesting. Okay, and they switch time and context on you constantly. Well, an interesting thing with this thing I was watching called The Serpent, that just jumps you backwards and forwards in time, you know, all the time. Had Jenna Coleman in it, so if there are any sci-fi geeks out there, they will probably know who Jenna Coleman is. Rewatching Cowboy Bebop. All right. Putting caps on a Sunday recapping. Just looking. Generally, when it comes to me watching shows or movies, I like ones that have character development. So I'm not one into, I don't mind if it's an effects movie, but as long as it's got good character development in it as well. I don't like films that are just effects based. I love a good like drama. Things that real kind of roller coaster type movie. I do like those. More flux. "1883 has plenty of character development." Well, it did. Now there's not much more character development anymore. Now it's just boring. I need to finish it because I've watched so much of it, but it got so boring. And the main character in it, I can't remember her name. The main character, she's meant to be like an 18-year-old girl/woman, and stuff happens, bad stuff happens, which means she cries a lot, and she's always got boogers hanging out of her nose when she's crying, and I'm just like, did they have hankies in the Old West, or tissues or something? I'm sure they had handkerchiefs back then. Handkerchiefs have been around for a long time. Could you wipe a nose, please? Maybe it's all that dry air. So anyhow, 1883 started really promisingly, and then I just got bored with it. For anyone who isn't familiar with it, if you've heard of Yellowstone, it's meant to be a spin-off of, well, it is a spin-off of that. It's meant to be the story of kind of that family and how they ended up where they ended up, sort of thing. And it stars 2 country singers. The main stars, one of them is Faith Hill. Is that right? You've got to remember, we're not really big on country out here. So, I mean, some people are, but on the whole, country is nowhere near as big as it is in the States. And the other guy is also a country singer, but I don't know who he is. He's apparently famous, but I'm not big on country singers. I know that Australian one. Kevin, no, what's his name? What's that Australian one called? Maybe I don't know that Australian one. Oh, and it's also worth mentioning that in that 1883 show, the 2 stars are actually married. The 2 stars play a married couple, and they're actually married in real life. So, how about that? Mystery Margot, hello, and Scarlet Swordfish, hello. No, I'm not. I mean, yes, Hugh Jackman is Australian, but I was thinking of Australian country singer. Yeah, Yellowstone's quite good. The only thing wrong with Yellowstone is every single character in it is awful. They're all awful people, so you kind of don't care what happens to them. There's like only 1 or 2 sympathetic characters in the whole show. And one of the people that's meant to be like a bad guy, I actually think he's quite good. I mean, I think he's one of the characters with redeeming features. Okie dokie. That's it. That is a recap. And that's a pigeon. Okay, let's just have a quick look. Remember the old adage, check your work. So we've got the right caps there, the 47s, positives are pointing in the right end there, positive indicated by a stripe on the cap, unless you're using an electrolytic cap, in which case the stripe would be pointing to negative. And there we go, 47s, they're pointing to the right there. And then we've got our two little 100 microfarads with the positives facing inwards to each other. And then we've got our last little guy here. Now, we can probably test this. I fully expect this one to not work because of the amount of scunge around this sound chip. I mean, it's just really goopy. I suppose I could give a little bit of a clean, but this really does need an ultrasonic. Are you thinking about Keith Urban? That's the one. That's the one, Keith Urban. Yep, the Aussie one. So. The funny thing is that he was famous in America before he was famous out here. I mean, he was known by country enthusiasts out here, but he wasn't known by mainstream. Now he's known by mainstream. Everyone knows who Keith Urban is. Are the yellow capacitors made of tantalum? Yes, they are. These are tantalum capacitors. That is exactly right. That is what they are. Almost put the tents on backwards. Yeah, it's funny. One of the very actually, it's not one of the first recap jobs I did. This was like probably maybe the third one. And it's my own board. It wasn't someone else's. It was an LC2, I think. And the first one or two that I did, I'd gone in and researched and checked and make sure, oh yeah, stripes on the positive side, this is the way around they go. And then I kind of got cocky and I did one and I was just looking at, yeah, stripe, you know, capacitor, stripes on the negative, yeah, negative. So I ended up recapping an LC2 board with every cap around the wrong way. And it smoked when I switched it on, which is cool. So I need to do something very quickly here before I can test this, because I do need to test it. I need to get this, which is my analog board for a Color Classic, and I need to fix something which happened the other day. A capacitor fell off. So I want to stick the capacitor back on. I don't have a replacement for it. But I am going to stick the old one on, which I believe is here somewhere. Oh my God, that's disgusting. Yuck. Sorry, there's something gross here. The cap is just here somewhere. I'll just need to grab it. You know, I think the Color Classic has now taken spot as the most recapped board I get these days. It used to be the SE30, but I definitely think that the Color Classic has taken its spot now. So I'm just trying to find this cap. I know it's here somewhere. It hasn't. I haven't taken it anywhere. It's just there's a mountain of mess here. That's all. I mean, a sensible person would replace this cap, and if this was someone else's board, I would, but it's my board, and all I want to do is just get it going for now. So I just want to grab that cap that has perhaps fallen down and been kicked under something. I may never find it, in which case we won't be testing it at all. But it would be nice if I could. Sorry you can't see me. It's probably a good thing, because I'm just rifling through mountains of stuff here at the moment. Maybe the cap fell on the floor. One of the real problems with this, doing it as a hobby or as a business or whatever, is all the stuff. You just always need so much stuff. You need caps and components. Oh, someone's at the door. Excuse me just a moment. I shall be right back. Sorry about that, folks. That was an Amazon delivery. Whew, gosh. Okay, I still haven't found that capacitor. I applaud you all for hanging around, and I apologise for the fact that this is... Ah, found it. This is becoming a bit of a farce. But anyhow... So sorry about that, folks. To the 44 people still watching, my apologies. Yeah. So, yeah, basically the doorbell just rang then. It was just an Amazon delivery, so delivering on a Sunday. So you don't get that very often around here, but anyhow. So this cap needs to go here. I am actually going to test this cap. It's a 330 microfarad. Let's go in and see what it's reading. Let's see what the Kaiwheat says. How did that get there? Okay, so this is what I'm using to test. I'll put this into capacitance mode like that. And then we are going to just test. This takes a little while to come up, but $325-ish, let's say. And this is 330. That's close enough. That's within spec. I could also test the equivalent series resistance if I wanted. Everyone hear that? Hear me say it? Said it, didn't I? We'll do that. Having said that, this I won't be able to figure anything out from this, because this is a, what is it? This is a 400 volt, and I don't have my little chart for that. So that is a 330. It says the ESR is okay if the capacitor is less than 470 microfarad, and it is. So, even though this capacitor decided to run away from the board, I am going to put it back on. As I say, it's not what I would do if I was recapping a customer's board, but this is mine. It's got some terrible rust on it, this one, doesn't it? No good, no good. There we go. So this one's an interesting one because this one has been modified into Mystic and then unmodified back into a normal one. Because I needed a non-Mystic more than I needed a Mystic from the perspective of testing. So. No such thing as Sunday delivery here. To hack the Color Classic ROM to unlock the RAM limit in the Mystic mod, the only way to go. It is my understanding that changing the RAM sealing, good God, it is my understanding that changing the RAM sealing is actually a lot harder than it seems. It's not just a matter of modifying the ROM. There are actually other things associated with it as well. I know that's certainly the case with some of the old Macs that have like a 4 megabyte limit. I have met lots and lots of clever people that have done all sorts of modifying of all sorts of things, and I've never found anyone who has been able to find a way of increasing that RAM sealing of 10 megabytes. So, and it's the same, of course, with the LCE2, I think. That's the same situation. So, yeah, so the Mystic is really the only way to go if you want extra RAM. But then you also have to ask yourself, what do you want to do with the thing? I would really question the need for more than 10 megs of RAM for most things that the Color Classic can do. You've got to remember, it's a 16 megahertz 030. We are not exactly talking about, you know, an incredibly powerful computer. You know, so I actually think that 10 megabytes is a reasonable sort of limit for something like that. But as I say, you may have very specific things that you want to do with it. That's the negative side. I will check it, but I'm pretty sure it's that way. Get in there. I have to move the snot. So, what? Wow! Look at this. This is bizarre. I don't know if you can see, but these are the holes here. So they're like cracked solder joints. They're cold solder joints. The the solder is still there. The pins have just slipped right through the middle. Fixing a Mac Plus motherboard that causes frequent machine crashes and lockups. Machine runs fine with another motherboard installed. That's an interesting one, isn't it? That actually sounds like an absolute nightmare, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you why. It's because it's not a, you know, like a, if someone gives you a board that says, hey, it doesn't work, and then you make it work and you give it back, it's like, yay. With something like that that sort of works, it's very, very hard to diagnose. I'm not saying no, but I might have to have a think about that one. The problem I have at the moment is that because it's my own fault, but because one of the things I do in this channel is teach people how to recap, a lot of people are doing it themselves now, and that's great. I really like it. But what that then also means is no one sends me, well, not no one, but fewer people just send me straight recap jobs. People are more likely now to be sending me boards where there is a problem, things don't work, stuff like that, and they unfortunately take a long time. I find it very hard to dedicate the amount of time I need for those, and I've ended up with quite a backlog at the moment of problem boards. The straightforward ones I try and get through as fast as I can and then send them back, and the problem ones then end up just sort of sitting here because I don't get the sort of hours I need to work on them. So I'm a little bit hesitant to take something like that on. Is this solder? Yes, it is. So let's just get some solder here. I'm doing a little bit of a cheat here because I don't have 3 hands. I'm just wrapping some solder around this so that I can solder that on. Okay, that's in place. And then let's do the next one. I've got a website up at the moment, so I don't have the chat, so I apologise. And my chicken is making so much noise. Okay, well I think that cap is back on now. He's certainly not falling out. Let's jump back to the chat and just check and see if I've missed anything of importance. What time is this? Okay, yeah, I've still got time. So I'll probably just stick with 608. Oh, so yeah, if anyone is asking about an LC, I would say the newest OS you would put on that one would be 701. Yes, you can put 7.1 on it. Yes, you can put 7.5 on it. But in terms of performance, yeah, stick with 6. But if you do want to get the features of 7, go with 701. Will probably get you the best performance on an old LC. They're old. All right, so let's put this in the thing. Hopefully it still works. I'll put it in the chassis, and then we can test this board. Oopsie. There we go. Okay, let's get rid of all this crap. Well, I wonder if this camera works, because we can use this one for the testing. Switching on. Whoa! I'll set myself up with a bit of a obstacle course here. What? Shush! Shush! Noisy chicken. Okay. God, this needs a clean out. Let's try this camera here. Side view. Ah, that's great. I'll try front view then. Let's see what's going on with this camera. Why aren't you working, camera? Hey, camera. What? Shush. Why aren't you working? Camera? Riddle me that. Off. On. Okay. On. Okay, it's on. Let's zoom out a little bit and hopefully we can see how messy my desk is. Sorry about that, folks. I always feel after I've recapped something that it's a bit mean unless I go in and test it. So this is me trying to do the right thing. Where the hell did I put the board? Oh, I took it with me. I made a little modification on this Classic so that it has a drive light, a hard drive light. So I put a little LED light in where there's a power light just there. And what I did is I put, it's just a green power light, and I got a red LED, and I glued it right next to the green one, and then I ran that to the hard drive, so that when the hard drive activity light is going, this little green light flickers red. And to be honest, it's a very, very basic little mod, but I love it. I love seeing that little light flicker red as a drive activity light. I love drive activity lights. I missed them when they took them away. Oh, Joe's got blue scuzzies again. I have to speak to Eric actually. He's doing a mod for me to the board. And I really need them fairly soon because I've been getting a lot of orders lately. Okay, there is our anode cap. And then we'll plug that in. That's a little degaussing, I think. So there's that, that, and that. Never forget to connect up anything that looks like a ground when you're working with the CRT. Otherwise, scary things can happen. Just saying. By the way, if anyone's ever working with a Color Classic, this thing here, it might look fairly innocuous. But if you touch that while it's on, you will get a very nasty zap. So don't touch it when it's on. And other pieces of advice like that. Okay, here's the board. We've got some built-in RAM on this, so I don't need to install any RAM in order for testing. All I really care about is whether I get a flashing question mark. I don't even have a hard drive in this guy. So I'm not going to worry about booting him at this stage. We're just going to see if it fires up. As I said, I'm giving this a pretty slim chance of firing up, mainly because it's so dirty. I think that if it doesn't work after a good ultrasonic clean, it will probably come good again. But I'm not, my expectations aren't super high that this is going to work at this stage. So just check to make sure I've got everything connected here, seeing as I had to reconnect it. And you do need to check these things because otherwise bad stuff can happen. Great. So I am now going to plug in some power. 240 AC volts. Switch it on. Okay, heard the degaussing, that's nice. And then I need to connect up a keyboard to it because, as we all know, or if you don't know, you will in a minute, you have to switch these on with the keyboard. So let's plug that in. And I'm going to press the power key and we'll see what happens. I'll just turn off the exhaust fan so there's not all that noise. Okay, and 3, 2, 1. Dead as a doornail. So as I mentioned before, I'm really not particularly concerned about that. That is almost definitely from gunk around the egret chip. And I probably just need to replace that. You can sometimes hotwire these things to come on just by unplugging them and plugging them in while they're powered on. It sometimes works. No, she's as dead as a doornail. So into the ultrasonic that will go. I will then test it again, and if it works, I will probably post a picture of it on my Facebook page saying, hey, look, the classic works. If it doesn't work, then I have to do more work on it. And as I say, that's probably, there are a fair few danger zones on these, but at least we did get to sort of try it out. And that makes us feel much better, doesn't it? Yeah. Just check and make sure that I didn't do any damage then. No. All good. All good. All good. Okay, so anyhow, I am going to start wrapping things up now, and I just need to remind everyone that if you like to watch someone cleaning keyboards, because I think isn't that what Jay's doing today? I think Jay's going to be cleaning some keyboards. So yeah, just a reminder, Jay from the House of Moth. Jay, if you are there, please drop a link in there to your YouTube channel. If anyone wants to go across and have a look, keeping the Mac thing going, he is going to be working, I think it's on keyboards. Actually, I think he sent me a link, so I might be able to. Is that TK421 on top of your microscope? No. Oh, hang on. You talking about that? I don't know if it's specifically TK241. It is just a generic Storm Trooper. Storm Trooper. It came from a little novelty USB stick. So it's a little tiny USB stick in the shape of a Stormtrooper, and his head is the cap. And I just thought he would look nice on top of the microscope like that. Didn't you think? Let me say hello, say hello. But I don't know if it's specifically TK24. Actually, I think it came out before the prequels, postquels, sorry. I think it came out before episodes 7, 8, and 9. So it's probably not TK241. So I'm just going to quickly grab a link to Jay's live stream. Copy. Let's see if this works. Just so that people can jump across, subscribe, watch if they want to. He is live streaming in... oh, look, it's already there. Thank you. I'm way behind. Thank you, Joe. He's streaming in about 10 minutes' time, I believe, is what was happening. So anyhow, I say thank you to all of you for watching. If you haven't done this yet,
smash that like button.
Please do. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the super chats. A lot of generous people here today. I thank you very much. And yes, thanks for persevering through that. Is arguably one of the most horrible boards I've ever seen. So yeah, have a lovely rest of whenever. Thanks again, and I shall hopefully see you at the next one. So bye.